Global Witness is a not-for-profit organisation. We campaign against human rights abuses, conflict and corruption that's driven by the oil, gas and mining industries. So that focuses on working on resource-rich countries. And if you didn't know, some of the world's countries that have the most abundant natural resources, whether or not that's the materials that go into your mobile phones or that's the oil used to power your cars, those are some of the poorest places in the world, and they suffer disproportionately from instability due to conflict and corruption. And Global Witness tries to make sure that the revenue from those natural resources is more equitably shared out and doesn't lead to those very same problems. We also look at, and this is where I focus often, is how these kind of revenue streams, so the money that's earned from these natural resources, these huge bounties, are taken in by corrupt elites and then distributed into the sort of global financial system and end up in mansions in London or yachts in the US. And we think about the kind of firms and the companies and the financial services that enable those flows to drain out of economies that badly need it for their healthcare services or their education systems. So I'm a data strategist at Global Witness, and this is a relatively new role for us. And we created this role because a lot of what we do is encourage governments and companies to disclose more information about who controls them and what they do. And this has meant that a lot more data has come online. So big data sources, we're talking about records of millions of companies. And I'm the person who crunches the numbers often, tries to find the stories in those data. So working with investigative teams who are looking at a particular set of issues. For instance, they might be looking at who's behind this particular network of companies, where did these payments from this particular ministry, if they're suspected of corruption, go. I do the number crunching for that. I try and plot out the networks, and then the next component of my job, once we've kind of found the story, is to find compelling ways to communicate this. And increasingly, that's online, leveraging things like interactive applications, digital storytelling methods. So I make sure we do that in the best and most engaging way possible. I really think that increasingly, as more information is available, data is a key ingredient for driving accountability around the world. And the internet has made this possible. So I wanted to find ways to channel that, to really attack particular wrongs or ills that were going on. And I think learning about the resource curse, which is a thing I referred to previously, where some of the world's poorest countries are the most abundant in specific natural resources and suffer from conflict and human rights abuses. This seemed like a perfect example of where kind of transparency and more data could drive public debate and better outcomes for people. I'd like to see a world where natural resources were shared equitably and that they didn't benefit elites, they didn't drive corruption and conflict. But I want to see primarily the revenues actually flowing into healthcare systems, into education systems, to build schools, to build hospitals, and to pull people out of poverty. I also want to see a reckoning within the UK and in the US and in Europe of the damage that some of the corporate opacity is doing to economies elsewhere, and the role that we ourselves play in driving some gross human rights abuses that are associated with natural resource extraction and the bumper profits that flow into the financial systems and into our major capital cities.